people for what's happening up there at the State House. So, my name is Samuel Duff. I'm the voter rights strategist with the ACLU of Alabama, and we just want to offer just a quick remarks here. So, speaking on behalf of the Alabama Voter Rights Coalition, we, the Alabama Voter Rights Coalition, are vehemently opposed to Senate Bill 1, which criminalizes absentee ballot voting. This is an egregious piece of legislation, and if it becomes law, it would damage the fabric of the democratic process by limiting a fundamental right that is guaranteed under the U.S. Constitution. This speaks to rectify a problem that does not exist here in the state of Alabama. Create a cataclysmic effect that isolates voters in a state where voter turnout consistently struggles. However, it is ironic that 10 Republican senators choose to sponsor this legislation, although it disproportionately impacts counties in their voting districts. Just in the 2020 election alone, 70% of absentee ballot voters were in places that essentially voted red. In places like Madison County, which has been a Republican stronghold, a conservative stronghold for years, 1 in 5 people voted absentee. In 5 deeply conservative counties, we're talking Blount County, Claiborne County, Coleman, St. Clair, and Winston counties, there were more people who voted absentee than there were more people that were voted in by that were voted for any Democratic candidate. So let me repeat that. So in 5 conservative counties, Blount, Claiborne, Coleman, St. Clair, and Winston counties, there are more people who voted absentee there than there were people who voted by any method for any Democratic candidate. So this bill adds to the newest chapter in the book of voter suppressive tactics that historically plagued the progression of our state, while consequently ostracizing the very voters that the sponsors were elected to serve. It is amazing to see how people speak of free and fair elections while spewing false claims of ballot harvesting and voter fraud. That makes no sense. And it's amazing to see our governor support a bill that creates inability for her constituents to vote, while creating the ability of a conservative regime to benefit from voter suppression. That doesn't make any sense like that. So it is amazing while we work to champion the win of the Milligan decision, what was fought for so long, and because the Milligan decision accurately reflects the racial makeup of this state, but so many lawmakers have worked to dilute it through any and every means. But again, this ain't nothing new.
No, it's not.
But nor is this necessary. So with that, no matter what goes on in that state house, we will not stop. We will not stop speaking for the voters of this great state. No matter the piece of legislation that comes through that legislative pipeline, we, as the Alabama Voting Rights Coalition, will stand to ensure equity and equality in the voting rights space. No matter the color nor creed, we will work for all Alabamians to ensure that their voices are heard, whether that's at the ballot box, through absentee voting, or beyond. So join us. Join us in solidarity. Join us in this movement that we're making here, as we work to ensure that the right to vote is not stymied by draconian legislation that hinders our ability to be heard.
Racism.
Voice your concerns with your legislator. Call them. Email them. If you have their number, text them. Because this is the way that we focus on creating a true definition of free or fair elections. This is the true implementation of the Voting Rights Act that so many have fought and died for in order to be enacted here across our great nation. This is going to work to protect the voting rights of all here in the United States of America. That is how democracy works. That is democracy here at the State House, your house, the people's house. Thank you. And with that being said, next I would like to introduce our next speaker, Father Manuel Williams. Thank you, Father.
For those of you who were upstairs in the chamber, you just saw a travesty of the democratic process.
I can't hear you.
Okay, those of you who are upstairs and who witnessed the hearing activity in that room, you just saw a travesty of the democratic process. And before I make the remarks I prepared to say, I would ask all of you to call the office of Senator Lance Bell, who sat to the right of the chairman of this committee, and who was very clear in his advocacy that not proper legislative procedure be followed, and that the decision not to place this bill, to vote on this bill today, would not happen until the revised version of it could be seen by the public and by other legislators. And Senator Bell persuaded, I don't know how, the chairman not to do that, and so they did take a premature and fairly ignorant vote today to proceed out of committee. Let me begin by saying I have pastored a church in Montgomery for 35 years. And in those 35 years, there has come to existence a cadre of people between the ages of 70 and 100. I have a pastoral minister who, in addition to meeting those people's spiritual needs, helps them with their civic responsibilities as well. And so every election, those who, because of disability, because of age, because of the long lines, because of the lack of access to voting that this state perpetuates, she will assist them in getting their absentee ballots, and then after they have filled them out with whatever level of assistance they require, she will gather them again and take them to the registrar's office. Nobody up there explained to me what harvesting is. Nobody up there explained to me how in a state of 4.5 million voters, how many cases of voter fraud they have actually litigated and charged people with. This is another subtle, blatant attempt to suppress people's vote. My 89-year-old daddy started walking a few months ago, and I thought he was doing it for health. And I asked him, I said, "Daddy, why are you walking again?" He said, "Looks like we're going to have to walk again for our voting rights." 89 years old. Sisters and brothers, it is incumbent upon all of us as citizens, as people of whatever faith traditions, to oppose this bill and to encourage our people. I want them to try and convict me of a felony. I'm going to make sure I help somebody with this bill so we can test this insane, inhumane law. Again, please call Senator Lance Bell's office and let him know we saw what you did.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. We're gathered here under the shadows of the State House building, and underneath the words, Audamus defendere jura nostrae, we dare to defend our rights. Last night, I heard a governor speaking about those rights, speaking about the right to vote, and supposedly how important that was. Yet in the same breath, mentioning words like ballot harvesting and other words referencing suppressive tactics that had no place in 2024. Last night, it got me thinking about other rights that had been suppressed in the voting rights space. It's not too long ago that voter ID laws were passed. In conjunction with the suppressive voter ID laws, we saw the closure of dozens of DMVs across the state, locations where people were supposed to go in order to get those voter ID laws. Last night, I went to bed with a heavy head and a heavy heart, thinking about where we are at this particular moment in time in Alabama. Last night was dark because I anticipated what we were going to see in that committee room on the 8th floor today. Well, brothers and sisters, I woke up this morning. The sun was out. A new dawn arrived. And the only thing that you can do when the sun comes out and the dawn arises is to rise up.
Right.
And despite what we saw sitting at the dais on that 8th floor, we saw hundreds of Alabamians take time out of their day to come down to the State House and rise up. We must remember that in this fight, we must constantly rise up. We must constantly wake up on our mind with the mantra that we too dare to defend our rights. And so we as a coalition must know that today is not the end, that we will constantly rise up to fight for full, fair, and free elections, whether that is no excuse absentee voting, whether that is right restorations, whether that's same-day voter registration or early voting. These are the things that ensure that we truly have secure democracies where every voice is heard and every voice is counted. Alabama, today we rise up. Today we dare to defend our rights.
Next, we will have Mr. Ronald R.J. James. I'm going to speak.
Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. Well, the first thing I did wrong, I stayed in the wilderness a day too long. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Say keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. Ashe. In the spirit of my sister Latasha Brown, it is no coincidence, it is no state of shock, it is no take back that while we are here today in the same place that we was 365 days ago, fighting the same bill with a new name. I named it BS 209 last year and it's BS 1 this year. So things have not changed. Since 1965, when the Voters' Rights Act was signed, there were people right here in this house, in this state, who were making plans to dismantle that right from the day one. Here we find ourselves